Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Well, the weather continues to be abysmal. We've got strong winds, lots and lots of rain. There's flooding through different parts of the country and there's no chance of seeing stars for the foreseeable future. So I thought now's a good time to embark on a new project, why not? And for those of you who have seen my other videos, you'll know that I'm fortunate enough to have an observatory, which is, you probably can't see it in the background there, but outside. And in there I have the iOptron CEM120 mount, which is a bit of a beast of a mount. Now that can take 115 pounds of payload, it says, or 52 kilos. Obviously you do want to be kind of well under that. You don't want to be putting the mount at its limit. But I also thought I didn't quite have enough room in that observatory with the pier currently situated in the centre of the room for two separate setups. And I thought, well, maybe I could do a side-by-side telescope arrangement on the CEM120 since it has all this capacity available. So I was considering maybe I could mount the Meade 10-inch, which has a focal length of 2000 millimeters with the optic focal reducer on it. It's natively 2500. And the SkyWatcher Esprit 120, which has a focal length of 840 millimeters. And that way I could image some targets, sort of a bit more whitish field, if you like, with the iOptron, with the SkyWatcher. And then the Meade could be homing in on some interesting details within the nebula. So I thought, what will I need to do the side-by-side arrangement? Well, fortunately with the iOptron CEM120, the saddle, which is normally sort of pointing in this direction, say towards the south-celestial pole, you can actually take the saddle off and you can position it at 90 degrees, which means then you could put a Losmandy plate through the middle there and then two more saddles this way, and then you would have your two telescopes moving together. Now, I was looking at various options, and whilst not the cheapest option, I did like the stuff they had at PrimaluceLab. Now, I do have their Astrophotography 2-inch robotic micro focuser, which is working really well on the Meade 10-inch. I'm really pleased with how it's performing. So I had a look at what arrangement they had, and they have a side-by-side setup that you can buy. It does come in the three parts. So this is the main Losmandy plate that would go into the iOptron CEM120 saddle. So as I said, the saddle is positioned like this on the mount and pointing towards the south-celestial pole, which is actually in about that direction. And what you can do is you can take the saddle off and reattach it this way. And that means that I can slot this Losmandy plate into the saddle, and then I've purchased two more saddles that will then sit like this and like this, and that would give me my side-by-side arrangement of for the telescopes. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to balance all this and how I'm going to attach it all without dropping something. I might need some other help from family members, but I'm going to open this up and have a look and see what they look like, and then work out exactly how to set these two telescopes up, and then work out how I'm going to run them with Nina. So we'll open them up and have a look inside. Okay, so here it is all put together, and so as I said, it'll go sort of in like this, the two telescopes, one up there, and it's all attached. There's a couple of screws here, screw into this saddle, and two over here. It's feels very solid. It's quite heavy, which is something else to take into consideration, the weight. So this was just under 3 kilos just together. So that's something else to add into my calculation when I'm putting everything together to see that it's all going to work on this mount. So yeah, it looks good, I like the look of it, and solidly built. I'll see how the next stage goes, where I'm going to have to take the saddle on the CEM120 and turn it sideways.
Right, so I'm now going to convert this system over to a twin telescope system. Now I haven't really found any videos on how to do this. There's been a few pictures and a bit of discussion on cloudy nights which I've had a look at, so I'm kind of going to follow what's been talked about there. What I need to do is I need to get this beast off, and I'm going to weigh it. I'm going to weigh the SkyWatcher Esprit 120 setup and see which is heavier, which is lighter, because that might determine where I position the two telescopes in reference to the main mounting plate here. This has to be taken off and rotated 90 degrees, so I've got to do that, and when that's on I'll then be sliding this one in. Oh, sorry, microphone's moving. I'll then put that into the main mounting plate, sorry, and then the two telescopes will go on here. So I've also, as far as I know, got to work out where the sort of center point of the weight is here. I've done that on the SkyWatcher by slightly dodgy means, by letting the whole thing sit on a relatively thin piece of wood and see when it's going to tip forward, where it's going to tip back, and where it's going to sit sort of balanced. So I'll do the same thing, because I'm presuming I'm going to have to put each telescope, depending on where their center of balance is, sort of centered on here, because it's not going to be a matter of being able to rotate these two telescopes on these. These are going to be fixed. The whole rotation is going to be the two telescopes going this way, and where they're positioned relative to each other, I guess, you know, left or right on this main plate. So yeah, as you can tell, don't really know what I'm doing. Going to give it a go, see what happens, and hopefully it all works. Okay, so apparently it's a matter of taking this plate off with these 4 bolts here, rotating it round. Now it's been advised to put these at the top end to be able to get to them easily, because if you put them down on this side, rotate it this way, with the two telescopes coming down here, it can get quite tricky to tighten these up, particularly when you have you know, all your camera gear and your filter wheels. So I need to get this off, rotate it this way, put it back on, and just be careful not to catch some of the wires that are down here when it's rotated. But yeah, we'll see how we get on with that. I'm just going to also go and weigh the two telescopes just to see whether I need to put this slightly off center, because there are some other holes here where you can position it off center here. So we'll see how we go with that. Right, so we've got the two setups side by side. So this SkyWatcher rig here, I've just weighed, that is 14.2 kilos, and the big telescope and all it's set up, this one here, is 18.3 kilos. So depending on which side I decide to put the telescope, the big one, either on the left or the right, I'm going to try and offset that plate that's on the CEM120, just to try and make sure as much of the weight is central over the mount. I have determined here roughly where the center point is. I don't know if you can see on this video. So I've got a mark here. Oh, there it is there, which is basically where the weight of this one is centered, sort of forward and back, so in this direction. And I'll just have to try and do the same thing with this one now. Yeah, so basically, yeah, not exactly scientific, but I've decided to balance the rig on this thin piece of wood, and as you can see, it's not falling forward or falling backwards, so I've just decided that must be roughly where the center point is. And I've done the same thing with the SkyWatcher, so I'll put this down quickly and get this Meade 10-inch sitting more safely on the table again. And here's the same thing with the SkyWatcher. I just want to double check it that that was roughly in the center point, so I've marked that. Hopefully that will work. So the CEM120 came with these the set of hex keys or Allen keys, which is very handy for adjusting the various components of this mount. And it's this big one here that I'll be using to take off these bolts. Okay, I've put it slightly off centre this way because I think I'm going to put the SkyWatcher over here and the 10-inch on this side here, because when I'm sort of looking at targets to the east, which is in this direction, I kind of want the target to get a lot higher for the 10-inch, I think, than necessarily the SkyWatcher. The SkyWatcher can probably shoot a target just over the roof of the observatory a little better, because being a bit more wide field, and I'm guessing not so affected by the height of the object in the sky, but I don't know, that's just a pure guess on that position. I've got this sitting here, I think, okay in the slot. It seems to move in there okay, it's not being sort of crushed, so that should be okay. And then I can get to these bolts up here to put in the PrimaluceLab's mounting plate. So we'll pop that in now. Okay, that's interesting. So it appears these knobs are getting in the way of these things, these plates here. As these try to slide in, there's just not quite enough height to get past these, so I'm probably have to undo these completely, take them out and slot it in, then screw them back in. This is obviously going to have to be adjusted this way or this way, depending on how I can balance these telescopes, but we'll just put it in the middle for the moment, roughly there, and I'll see if I can get these things screwed back in. Okay, so it's positioned on here now. Now it's a matter of getting the telescopes on and see if I can get the thing balanced. Okay, so with the two rigs being on here, that's 32.5 kilos, and the mount has a capacity of 52 kilos, so I've still got 20 kilos to play with, which hopefully will be okay. But what I really need to do is put another weight on here, which I have here, so I'll open this up and stick it on. Right, just move them up a bit higher. I presume, I mean, these are 10 kilos each, so it's 30 kilos as it is. So I'm presuming that I need to move the whole lot up a bit. We'll see once I get the telescopes on, and then try and balance it. One telescope on, time for the next one. Okay, word of advice. Put your markings on both sides of the bottom Osmandi plate, so you're not doing what I'm doing and having to go back to look at the centre and work out where it is halfway. So yeah, mark it both sides, much easier. as I did on this one. Somehow I forgot on this one. Okay, so it turns out that moving it to this hole, these holes, was a bit of a mistake. Even though this side is 4 kilos heavier than this side, when I was trying to do some balancing, it just kept wanting to go over to this side here and wouldn't balance over here. So I've moved it back to the default position. I know it's not the center point, but that's where it is when you receive the mount in this direction, and puts the whole thing a bit more central. And I'll have to re-put them back on and try again with the balancing. Right, so the 2 telescopes are on, and been doing a bit of mucking around, moving things back and forward. Balance seems pretty good this way, so happy with that. And then we'll do this one, balance this way. Not bad. All right. Right, so that's the heavy lifting done. And now it's time to work out exactly how to get these both to run together on with Nina, so I can target a target with both telescopes. Obviously I can't do different targets because they're going to be pointing in the same direction, but I can do one more zoomed in and one more wide field. I think my camera's rocking backwards and forwards, sorry about that. And yeah, or I can just image individually if I decide I want to do a you know, long focal length target like a galaxy or something. I could just image with this one night, and then I could move to a wide field view with this one. So I'm hoping this will give a bit of flexibility. I do find this is quite difficult if I'm not in the observatory because of the wind blowing it all around, whereas it seems to be quite a big difference having it sitting in this observatory even when there's a bit of a breeze. So yeah, time to go start looking at the software and actually also connect up all the power to this to make sure it all's going to work. Right, well the forecast says it's going to be clear tonight, and I was hoping to get a chance to test out the rig, but it's not looking good, so I'm not holding my breath. But anyway, let's go through the equipment. So on this side I've got the 10-inch Meade. Up here I've got a Pegasus Powerbox Advanced distributing the power, and here's the robotic focuser from PrimaluceLab and the Lepus focal reducer, and then I've got the Antler 3nm filters sitting in this 2-inch filter wheel, the ASI 2600 Pro on the back, and an ASI 290 Mono Mini, which is the guide camera here. And then on the other side, the SkyWatcher Esprit 120, another Pegasus Powerbox Advanced distributing power around this rig, and this actually also has a Pegasus Astro focus cube here. Now this has the Outtro 3nm filters in the 2-inch filter wheel, another ASI 2600 Pro on the back, and I'm actually using my QHY 462 color as the guide camera. Now when I am running these together, only one of these two will be guiding, so it's just a matter of choosing which one. I will predominantly, I think, running, when the two are going together, I'll probably run this one as the master and I'll probably run this as the slave, in which case when I'm using both telescopes I won't be guiding through here. But I do have the opportunity to potentially just image with this rig one night or for part of the night, and then switch over later to this rig, so I can switch between, you know, this one guiding or this one guiding. The cables look like a bit of a bird's nest. Unfortunately, you know, they always provide you with extremely long cables, and it's like, what do you do with all this excess? So they're kind of bound up there. But the nice thing about this mount is that you know, there's nothing through here to get caught up, because all the power is going in through the base here, and through the internal cabling system comes out through here. Oops, sorry, move the camera up a bit. I've got the USB from each Pegasus power box going through here, so we know what each camera, or what each telescoping camera is doing. And then I've just had to add an extra weight here, so this is now 30 kilos of weight, which I'm hoping will be enough. It is a little bit low. It would be nice to have it further up, so I might try getting another weight and having 4 further up this way. We'll see how it goes on the first night. And then the whole thing is being controlled as it usually has been when I've just been running one telescope on an Intel NUC mini PC. So this is running Windows 10 and has everything on board that I need. Right, well, that's a run through on how I have set up this side-by-side imaging rig, at least the hardware side of things. I've still got to do the software, which will be subject of another video, because this video is probably long enough. I didn't find a lot of information out on the internet, or much in the way of videos when it comes to how to go about this. I did watch Stephen Morris's channel, which you should check out. He set up twin Russes, and actually through watching his videos I realised that the best way to go, for the brackets at least, was to get the PrimaluceLab ones, which seems to have worked really well. Unfortunately now, because this is sitting a little bit higher now on the extra brackets, I can't actually have my dew shield on with the roof closed, so I am going to have to now start putting this into a park position. So I've worked out that I will sort of park it over in that direction, so I've got rooms come through here without running into things if it's a bit dark. So I've just got to make sure that when I have Nina ending a sequence, that it puts it into park first and then closes the roof. There's going to be quite a bit to work out, I think, with the software. I don't expect it to run smoothly the first time, so but as I said, that will be the subject of another video as soon as I get a clear sky. So yeah, hopefully you found this useful, and if so, give it the old thumbs up, that'd be great. And hopefully soon I'll have a follow-up video on the actual rig imaging with Nina. So until then, clear skies.